Thanks for staying with us here on Spectrum News. I'm Brandon Shope with our top stories.
Brandon Shope.
Yeah, thanks so much. We're here in Southport, where, as you can see, the impacts of Hurricane Matthew are continuing to pound the Carolina coast. Yeah, thanks so much. We're here in Duplin County, where, as you can see here behind me, a large crowd is already forming, and that's because Donald Trump is supposed to speak tonight here in Kenansville. Now, just a little bit of background information about Kenansville. It's a very small town. I actually spoke with town officials yesterday, and they told me that there's actually less than 1,000 people that live here in the town, and I'm pretty sure we're going to not only double that in the next few hours, triple it, but they're actually expecting more than 8,000 people to actually come out here today, all to support Donald Trump.
People's been in with the cameras and stuff, but they have never come to us. Yes. And I appreciate you coming to try to help us out.
And as you can see, flood water is continuing to rise here in the Fair Bluff community. Many residents echoing the same thing as Miss Katrina right here, and they just need some help. The town officials said if the winds continue to get up and if they have max sustained winds of over 45 miles per hour, extremely dangerous right here as well. You do not want to drive through these waters. And the FBI says after they review the areas of land that were searched on Friday, then they'll determine what areas they'll need to cover next. And of course, we'll stay out here and bring you all the latest developments as we get them in. Good morning. It may look like a winter wonderland here in Wilmington, but looks can be deceiving. The roads are still extremely dangerous. The sound of helicopters still filling the air here on Dawson Cabin Road, just south of Jacksonville. We've been out here all day covering the story as law enforcement and first responders continue to search for a 3-year-old girl reported missing by her mother. Yeah, thanks so much. We're here in Leland right now, here in Windsor Park in Bridgeport, where a Leland police officer has been shot. Now, the suspect is dead at this time. Yeah, thanks so much. We're here at the New Hanover County Government Complex, where, as you can see here behind me, there's protesters, and it's all due to Gen X. Now, that's the toxin that was found in the Cape Fear River. We're here in Wrightsville Beach, where, as you can see, the wind is starting to pick up a little bit. Yeah, we're here in Carolina Beach, where, as you can see, the remnants of what was previously Hurricane Irma are pretty much gone, quite honestly. Not a whole lot out here. The skies have cleared up, which is a welcome sight for a lot of people who are out here on the beach. For now, reporting in Carolina Beach, I'm Brandon Shope for Spectrum News. And in addition to SkyNav on the Tourism Bureau's website, there's also a really cool virtual reality aspect of it that involves only your smartphone and Google Cardboard, and it actually really immerses you in the experience. And so far, these shipping containers are already 50% occupied, and it's opening doors to allow new businesses to come to Wilmington, but this is only the first step in making the brand new cargo district. And back in the 14 and 1500s, people were a lot shorter than they are today, only about 5'2" or 5'3". That's why the beams are a lot lower, and you really have to duck to make sure that you don't bump your head on it, which I've already done a few times. And while the final numbers aren't in just yet, Knight is confident the event will bring in more than $40,000. It's all to help those who need it the most. For now, reporting in Wilmington, I'm Brandon Shope for Spectrum News. And in addition to technology, school bus drivers are also using hand signals to let children know when it's safe to cross the street. And McCarthy says this frozen storage facility has more than 100,000 square feet of room, and that's enough room for actually more than 10,000 pallets, equaling about 20 million pounds of frozen food. And Norris says once the plane is off the ground and in the air, there's little that the pilot can do if a laser light shines into the cockpit other than alert the tower or the ATC controllers. And the UNCW Seahawks say they contribute their success to all of the hard work and dedication they put into every practice and every game. And throughout the entire day Monday, firefighters continue to spray water down on the top of the building, and that's because smoke was continuing to pour down it for most of the day. And when it comes to beefing up security, Duckworth says here at Smith Creek Park, they're teaming up with the sheriff's office to increase patrols. For now, reporting in Wilmington, I'm Brandon Shope for Spectrum News. A new movie is set to film in Wilmington. I'm Brandon Shope, and coming up on Spectrum News, I'll show you exactly how that production is expected to impact the coastal economy. And when it comes to the expansion, right now there's not a specific date set in stone just yet for when that construction should begin, but Wilsey says you can expect it before the end of the year. For now, reporting in Wilmington, I'm Brandon Shope for Spectrum News.
You're watching Spectrum News all day.
Thanks for watching Spectrum News. I'm Brandon Shope with a look at our top stories for today. The cleanup concerns continue among some coastal counties. The Fayetteville plant Chemours says it started to work to remove the chemical Gen X from the Cateville River. Now, Gen X is a potentially cancer-causing chemical. Residents and Wilmington city officials talked about the issue during a forum hosted by the Cateville River Watch. Experts say there are many costly options for removing Gen X, and it could take up to a month to remove it from the water completely.
The river has to flush so that, the uncontaminated water coming down to our water intake gets there. It's about a 3-day travel time from where Chemours has their discharge down to Lock and Dam 1. It depends on the river flow rate.
Chemours officials have not yet released detailed information about the removal process. Meanwhile, the coastal water utility has an idea about how to clean up the water, but the proposal meets some opposition. Officials with H2Go say a reverse osmosis plant in Brunswick County would use a membrane to filter out water in the Cateville River. The company says it could start construction on the purifying plant later this year, and now local officials, however, aren't on board. Leland Town Council members and county commissioners want to stick with a resolution that delays construction to build the plant. They want to wait until after the November election to make any decisions. From the coast to the Queen City, we now take a look at alarming statistics concerning the homicide rate in Charlotte. In 2006 and 2008, 83 people were killed. Now that's the most to date within that time period. The least deaths happened in 2014 with 42 people killed. CMPD Chief Kerputney called that a historic low. So far this year, of the 46 victims killed, at least half were between the ages of 18 and 34.
These are not random acts. These are volatile outbursts where people grab guns and settle minor disputes. You're simply a lot less likely to be a victim of a homicide by a stranger.
Chief Putney also says 34 of the 46 victims actually knew their killer. This man and woman faced charges in connection with the death of their baby. Fayetteville police say in January, officers arrived at an apartment of 26-year-old Brianna Nelson and 25-year-old Joshua Gonzalez and found 6-month-old Salona Gonzalez unresponsive. Now, that was late last week. Detectives received an autopsy report that showed the infant died of starvation and dehydration. Nelson and Gonzalez are now charged with involuntary manslaughter.
You're watching Spectrum News all evening.
U.S. health officials released vaccine data that shows the flu vaccination was ineffective for people 65 and older. Last winter, the data shows the vaccine was 42% effective in actually preventing illness severe enough to send a patient to the doctor's office. But it did a particularly poor job protecting older adults, the age group hit hardest by the flu in North Carolina. North Carolina Health and Human Services reported 219 flu deaths this year. Flu shots are recommended for all Americans 6 months or older. This is a picture of a utility pole, but if you can look closely, you can actually see a kitten. The 7-week-old got stuck inside the pole in Indian Trail on Thursday. Deputies worked with crews from M&J Electric to get the kitten out. Workers named her Electra. Veterinarians checked her out and say she is now available for adoption at the Union County Animal Shelter. The 4th of July is right around the corner, and the small town of Southport is gearing up for their annual parade and festival. It's an event that draws around 50,000 people from all over the entire world. Event organizers say the past few years have been rough and they've lost money. But this year, they're bouncing back and have already seen a 50% increase in funds coming in. Now, that's thanks to 65 businesses and individual donors. Businesses say the festival is great for the coastal economy. The parade starts at 11 a.m. on the 4th of July, but I can tell you from past experiences, it's a good idea to get down there bright and early to make sure you find a great parking spot. North Topsail Beach will soon require vehicular parking passes to park right there along the shoreline. Coming up next, find out how much it'll cost and what beachgoers are saying about it. Also, after the break, a look at your Weather on the One's forecast and, of course, the latest traffic conditions. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
We were just completely devastated by this unexpected tragedy.
It's been a rough few years for Gentry and Hadley Eddings.
Not a moment that goes by that we don't think about Dobbs or Reed and just what life would be like if they were still here.
In 2015, a truck plowed into their car, killing their toddler, and forced Hadley, who was 8 months pregnant, into labor. Their newborn son died 2 days later from complications.
Losing a son is just beyond words.
Tests found fentanyl in the driver's blood, and he pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter. The case drew national attention when the Eddings publicly forgave the man in court, and again when their twin boys were born a year later. Now the couple is lending their voices to the fight against opioids at the Coastal Horizon Center's annual luncheon.
It's heartbreaking, the consequences of what happens when people make those choices.
According to the Center for Disease Control, nearly 2 million Americans are abusing prescription opioids.
We've got to get people to treatment earlier.
Recovering addict Jay Rochelle knows the horrors drug use brings and says treatment is the key to saving lives.
They don't want to be that way. So locking them up is not helping the problem. It's only making it worse.
Which is why finding humanity behind the headlines remained the focus of the luncheon. Humanity amid the opioid epidemic, and of the Eddings story that offered forgiveness in the midst of heartache.
Our hope for the driver who hit our cars, that there would be redemption for his story, and for anybody who's walking through addiction.
Brandon Shope, Spectrum News.
Even our windows that were boarded up, the water was pushing right through them, like through the plywood, through the closed window, just gushing into the house.
Jared Cleardon recalls the day Hurricane Maria tore through his home in Puerto Rico.
And it was filling up with water so quickly we realized we couldn't fight it for very long.
He and his family rode out the final 16 hours of the storm in the bathtub. When they walked outside, they saw the devastation. A flying roof took out most of their house, but Cleardon says it was what came next that was even more horrific.
People were stealing our belongings because our house was ripped open, and we were just chasing people away with a machete. And as I chase one person, I worry about the next coming after my wife and my child.
And as the hours turned into days, they began running out of food and water.
You feel like you're failing probably as a parent because you can't provide your child with what she needs.
No electricity and little cell service also proved to be a challenge, and people were lined up for days just to get gas.
And people were going to the bathroom all over the fuel lines. So we were walking through human feces all over the ground. One person was stabbed 12 times next to our house in a gas line, overcutting in line, we heard.
Thankfully, Cleardon was able to finally make contact with his parents in Leland. They got the family on a flight to North Carolina, where they're staying now. But back on the island, he says his good friend still doesn't have clean water.
And he sent a message to me, not knowing what we were going through, and said, I'm looking in the back of my toilet trying to pull water out of it with a rag.
That's why he'll return soon with supplies and to lend a hand to everyone in need of help. Brandon Shope, Spectrum News. It's been a very somber morning here at the Dawson Community Church in Onslow County, and folks from around Onslow County came out Sunday to worship and also remember little 3-year-old Mariah Woods.
I mean, I know she's in a better place now, but just to know that her little body was out there alone, I'm glad that she's been found.
Tara Theis goes to Dawson Community Church and is just one of the many community members mourning the loss of a local child.
it just hits so close to home for so many of us. I have a 3-year-old myself, is my youngest, and I just can't imagine anything happening to him.
After nearly a week-long search, a body believed to be little Mariah was found Saturday night in a creek in Pender County. Authorities have charged Earl Kimry, her mother's live-in boyfriend, with concealing a death, among other things. But even in the wake of tragedy, Thais says the outpouring of love and support has been amazing. She helped feed the more than 1,000 people that searched for Mariah.
The amount of goodness that it's brought in, some of the best people and energy and willingness to help that I've maybe ever seen. And it's all God's glory, bringing everyone together.
Pastor James DeLuca echoes that.
Everybody was willing to do everything that they could to see that she was found, no matter what.
Now the community looks to move forward together.
If we don't react to it in a loving way, then we're going to harbor that up in us, and we're going to have hostility to it. We're going to wish him the worst or her the worst or whomever it may be, and we're not going to find ourselves ever finding peace or any kind of closure at all.
And just to show you how small this community really is, Thais says that Kimry was once in her own home around her kids, doing handyman work there in the house. As for Kimry, he's set to make his first court appearance Monday morning before a judge, and we'll bring you all the latest late-breaking developments as we get them in. For now, reporting in Onslow County, I'm Brandon Shope for Spectrum News. Ashley Beatty is all set to move into her brand new home, but her house is unique. That's because it was built in just over a day.
It's really awesome. The love, the dedication, the support, everything is I really appreciate everything.
Habitat for Humanity is celebrating 30 years by building a home in 30 hours. Director Steve Spain says volunteers and contractors from around the Cape Fear region have really stepped up to lend a helping hand.
It's just taken huge contributions from across the community to make this happen. There's probably about 100 people.
And it doesn't come free. Habitat families have a mortgage just like anyone else. They also have to help build their own house and other homes within the program.
If there's one adult in the family, 250 hours of sweat equity. If there's 2 adults, it's 400 hours.
But the homes are affordable and interest-free. Volunteer Reed Murkison has been with the program since the very beginning. To date, the organization has helped 200 families.
If people have a stable home, that gives them a foundation from which they can raise their kids with some stability, they can build equity, they can build capital.
And as a single mom, Beatty looks forward to showing her son how hard work truly pays off in the end. She's grateful for the help she's gotten along the way.
I was ready to own something, so this is going to help me a whole lot. Without Habitat, this wouldn't happen.
In Wilmington, Brandon Shope, Spectrum News.
Over 80% of individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities are unemployed, and we just felt like we needed to do something about that.
Amy Wright has 2 children with disabilities and wanted to make a better life for not only them, but others who face similar struggles. Opening in 2016, the coffee shop now employs more than 40 people with disabilities.
It's wonderful for raising awareness for the value of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Since then, they've garnered national attention from shows like Rachel Ray, The Today Show, and Harry Connick Jr., to name a few. Now they're up for CNN's Top Hero Award. Tens of thousands applied, and now it's down to the top 10.
And I feel like it's given us this tremendous platform for sharing what we're doing here and encouraging other businesses to hire individuals with disabilities.
Thank you for coming in.
And one of those individuals is Matt Dean. He runs the cash register while his friends pour a fresh, steaming hot cup of coffee.
Probably the best part about being here would probably be seeing all the great customers and their smiles.
He says Amy and her coffee shop not only gave him a job, but also changed his life for the better.
She's an awesome boss to everyone, and she's very well loved here.
For Wright, it's all about giving those a voice who may not have had one otherwise.
Well, we feel like people with intellectual and developmental disabilities have been in the shadows for a really long time. We feel like what we've done here has helped bring them out of those shadows, and we just want to continue that momentum.
Customers come from around the nation to bring their own family members with special needs to feel the atmosphere of Biddy and Boats. A second store is scheduled to open in Charleston, South Carolina in January. In Wilmington, Brandon Shope, Spectrum News. For now, reporting in Southport, I'm Brandon Shope. Now back to you.
Brandon Shope.